Okay, I just want to start by saying thank you so much for taking the time out to sit down and chat with me. I suppose we should start right at the beginning. How did you first discover drag?
Um, so first discovering really what drag was is that
Mm,
I used to go to a lot of pantomimes when I was younger with my grandparents. They took me every single year.
mm,
I think what I first when I went to was when I was like 4 or something like that. Um, so and I went for years and years and years, and up until I went to university, my grandparents, me, my sister, and my cousins every single year. So I saw drag in the very classical British sense
mm,
through the name, but introduced to that idea of what you think drag is really now in that pop culture where
mm,
same as a lot of people through Drag Race. That's how I
mm.
was introduced to it. Uh, I started watching it on TV. I think
Mm.
season 8 is when I started watching
Oh.
it a couple of years ago, and then actually doing drag myself.
Hmm.
Um, that was all because of vanity, because of our relationship.
Hmm.
They were drag, I always really liked the idea of wanting to do
Mm.
performance and actually put my there on stage, and it just developed into
Mm.
actually giving it a go during lockdown, and that was how I really discovered my ability to develop my own drag
Mm.
character and then actually have build the confidence to be able to get up and actually do it in person, which
Yeah. So
yeah,
you
I think
talked
a
about your.
lot of it is
Oh.
is to do with the relationship. Oh, sorry.
Okay. You talked about your sort of drag persona, Glass. So where did the name come from?
Yeah.
Why did you choose that name?
Right, because I am massively imaginative and very creative. I'm trying to think of what a name could be, and I just could not think of one whatsoever. And I was trying to think, right, remember something of that is very much me.
Mm.
Um, and I was trying to think of one to have to do with my real name. So my middle name is Piper, and I always really like because that's very to me it's a very gender neutral name. I was
Mm.
like, oh, I'd love to have that in there in some way, but I couldn't think of a way for it to actually go in.
Mm.
And then I was like, right, okay, let's think of a different one. And then I thought, oh well, let's just go with something simple. This is before I actually properly
Mm.
started it. I was like, I'm Welsh. My favorite color is blue. Let's just go for Glass. And then I the thing to be as a surname, and then it's just sort of built from there. And I
Mm.
kind of like it short and simple. Like short and simple.
So you were talking about starting in lockdown then. What was your first performance like, the first time you got on stage and
Oh, right. The first performance I did in drag was for a show in Reading. It was oh I can't remember the name of the show now. It was hosted by a drag performer called Big J in Reading, and they did a call out for a drag like lip sync competition. It
Hmm.
was, and Vanity was doing it, and we'd actually just moved from the Reading area. That's where we lived there for a year just after
Hmm.
lockdown. Uh, we just moved back to Cardiff, and we thought, oh, we know Reading, we'll give it.
Hmm.
Vanity was like, oh, I want to go, and then they said you should do it with me. You should, you're going to be there anyway. And I was like, oh no, I kind of don't want to. And
Hmm.
then they're like, go on, do it. And they sort of pushed me, and that's the way I sort of developed a lot of the things I've done in drag is because I've been pushed by Vanity, which I
Very
am very
aggressively pushed.
for it. But after the fact, yes, I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first performance was it was a musicals mashup which I did, completely lip syncing, and I look back at it now, and it was just I'm not a lip syncer anyway. I don't rate
Hmm.
my dance skills whatsoever. My ability to lip sync, it's terrible. It looks so awkward. I could barely walk in heels and my little Primark heels, which I have they're very lovely. But still, yeah, it was very awkward. I think I did kind of well, to be
Hmm.
honest. I was come third in the competition if
Wow.
they could actually act correctly. Um, but yeah, it was very awkward, but I was glad that I sort of took that
Hmm.
leap. That with yeah,
You obviously you talked about sort of going into sort of live singing rather than performance, lip syncing, and
yeah,
obviously you've got a love of Moulin Rouge. Sort of where did
yeah.
that love come from? Where did that passion come from?
Um, to be honest, very controversially, I actually don't like the Moulin Rouge movie. Um, I know, I don't know why. And I don't know why. But I just have a love for musicals in general,
Mhm.
and I think one of the reasons why I do quite a few songs from that it's the new Broadway version that
Mhm.
I from is because it's popular songs which I do really enjoy, and I really like all these sort of poppy songs and
Mm.
things, these sort of things you'd hear on the radio. But I feel like my voice leans a lot more
Mm.
into being able to fit a show tune, rather than as sort of like pop or
Yeah.
sort of type of singer. So that's why I like those sort of jukebox musical.
Mm.
That's why I do the Moulin Rouge ones a fair bit, and Juliet as well. That with
Yeah.
that sort of coming out, I've started to do those as well. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just sort of like those show tuney songs, but have them more popular. I feel like audience enjoy those a little
Totally.
bit more straight out deep dive musical ones that I'd love to do. Yeah,
So one of the performances I saw you was at Frock and Roll in
yeah,
the Bike Lot Cafe. What was it like performing there?
it was good. I really, really enjoyed it. I think Vertigo did a really good job
Mhm.
as their sort of first. I said it was their first Cardiff performance, their debut Cardiff performance, putting on a show in really a new city for their drag persona was very good, and I was
Mm.
very happy. I could have been a part of it, and I really enjoyed it.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I think the crowd was good. They're a bit quiet to start off with, but they did
Okay.
get into more at the end. And I personally, as a performer, really enjoyed it.
Mm.
Um, and I think I did well in
Yeah.
what I was doing.
Lovely. Mm.
How with how I sang, 99% of my
Yeah.
songs, how I interacted with the audience, tried to inject some type of comedy, which
Mm.
I don't really like doing. I hate really sort of doing that talking in front of the audience.
Mm.
I always find it very awkward because I'm a very anxious and introverted
Mm.
person. Um, but yeah, I think it was very enjoyable. I really enjoyed that show,
Mm.
and I hope they do another one. I
Yeah.
think they try and pursue doing
Mm.
another one of those. Be a part of it again in the future. Maybe with a bit better speakers though. That would be nice. Back, hear my own music.
So you said obviously it was the first rock and roll gig in Cardiff. Did that add pressure then, being a part of the first of something? Did that add any pressure to you?
I think it does, yeah. I mean, I always put a sort of pressure on myself anyway,
Mm.
regardless of it's the first or the hundredth of a show. I put a lot of pressure to be good. I always want to be perceived as I'm doing well, I'm doing something good, because especially when people come and they pay for something, and it's something that I thought of when I did a bit of musical theatre in a university,
Mm.
that people are coming to for a show. You want to give the best performance possible, whether that's the first of a show, or like I said, the 10th or
Yeah.
20th or whatever. I put that pressure on myself to be like, I want to give the best possible one.
Yeah.
I think for that one particularly, because it was Vertigo's sort of debut one, I wanted to make sure that
Mm.
I didn't wrong and I was rubbish. I did want to be good
Mm.
for them, but I didn't really know. I didn't really know Vertigo much before that.
Yeah.
Before that, I sort of spoke online, and I was very happy that they'd
Mm.
asked me to be. But yeah, um, I did think there was a bit of pressure on there, and I put that pressure, like I said,
Yeah.
on
On
the
yourself.
first of like
Mm.
House, or the when I did my Fresh Blood for Hey Marys, and Hey Marys had been going on for like, what, 6 years
Yeah.
before I came along, started helping out with that. So I
Mm.
always have that bit of pressure.
Yeah. Obviously, you talked about Hey Marys. Can you just talk about what sort of Hey Marys is for people who are not aware?
Yeah, so Hey Marys is a alternative drag. I think they describe it as a discotheque variety show. I think this like what going on 7, 8 years now
Mm.
of performances in Mary's Cardiff.
Mm.
And it's the last Friday of every month. It's actually this day of recording.
Yeah.
It is actually the which I'll be on the door. So I hope
Mm.
people have come to see me, because this will be going up in the future. Yeah, very it's just a very good night for sort of different styles of drag to come
Mm.
together. You've got mix of things from lip sync. Your Cardiff's a very cabaret scene, as you're aware,
Mhm.
and they have that mix of cabaret. They've got lip syncers. And they've got people that do that alternative style
Mm.
of music and drag. and they sort of embrace everyone, no matter what type of performer you are. They allow that stage for people to come and perform, and everyone to just have a good night. And it's chaotic in the way. Sorry, the dogs have just started to break into your night.
That's no problem.
Yeah, go, babes.
So, what was it like performing the Hey Marys then when you did it?
That I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. The first performed was their Christmas shows, the December one or end of year show, like 2 years ago. And I loved it. It was brilliant. Everyone was so supportive. All of the performers there, they're sort of core performers, and they're sort of the favorites they sort of have that make up the collective are also lovely and supportive to me. And I think it was as being one of the first times I actually performed in Cardiff. I think it may have actually been the first. No, I think maybe the second actually. I felt very welcomed, which was really good, and I feel like that did have a lot of pressure on me. Like I said, I put that pressure on everything, but I think that one especially had a lot of pressure, because I was like, I wanted to make sure I'm showcasing something good for these people, because I know so many people applied to be a fresh blood, and I was one of I think maybe like the fifth person to do it, so I was like one of the first people in this new slot that they've allowed. I did want a good show, and it was the last of the year. Of course, I wanted to put on a good show for it, and I really loved it. It was brilliant.
Vanity, obviously, when we interviewed Vanity, which I'll put the link below, she talked about her first performance and hiding behind the stage and kind of those sort of silly things that happen. What was the actual performance like? How are you feeling about to get on the stage?
I was terrified. I was so scared. Funnily enough, I did actually do that Moulin Rouge song. I did backstage romance for that one actually, because it's only a 5-minute slot for the fresh blood anyway. So I just did that because it's a song I enjoyed. I knew it, so I was like, I'll do that. But I was terrified. I was so scared, because I was sat there on the side, and with all the performers, and I just knew I had sitting next to me had people like Nemesis Repulsa, Medusa Repulsa, Electric Complexa, Justin Drag, Esther Parade. They were all sat there like these sort of brilliant Cardiff performers, and I was just like, oh my God, I think it was the first time I did live singing as well in drag, like one of the first. So I was a bit like, oh, I'm terrified. And I did it. My hands were shaking the entire time, but people loved it. Loads of people clapping. The performance stood up and gave me this sort of little ovation. So that was humbling for me, and I really appreciated that sort of that continued support doing it. I really loved it, and I was glad I didn't have to tutty behind the stage like Vanity did.
So obviously, also you're quite heavily involved with Hell Haus. So do you mind talking about what Hell Haus is?
So Hell Haus is a new show, sort of spearheaded by Vanity Act, as another sort of themed show in Cardiff, and it's bi-monthly. It's now in Fuel Rock Bar in Cardiff, and it's just that it's another space for new performers or emerging performers or anyone really just to come and showcase their talents and hopefully give them a sort of fair wage as much as we can, because it's all based off the tickets we. But it was when Vanity was wanting to set up her own night, she wanted it as that. She was inspired by things like Hey Marys. She was inspired by Polyglamorous in Brighton. These themed nights where it would everything, all the performers would come and they'd dress as, or they'd do numbers inspired by a specific theme, and try and have some type of audience interaction. There's always some sort of audience theme.
Yeah.
With, for example, this coming one now is Queer Chaos, which is our version of Pride. So we're hoping that everything's going to be lovely and camp and very gay and frolicky, and or hopefully come in some lovely Pride colourful outfits. And we hope gets involved with it.
And sort of how are you going to interpret that theme? What have you got planned? Can you tease what we're going to see from you?
I'm going to try and, I've always said that I want to try and push my comfort zone a little bit. I want to try and just do some songs which people know. I feel like with the theme of pride, you can do really whatever you want, and that's celebrating whatever you want to do, what your interpretation of pride is. I feel like that's what the really one of the messages of pride actually is in general. So I'll just be doing some sort of songs which hopefully people know. Doing some singing. I'm going to try and do some songs which include some maybe sort of lip sync sections
Wow.
because something that I want to try and learn to do is that's one thing I've always said. I want to try and learn how to lip sync properly because I know it's not right. So I'm going to try and inject little bits of lip syncing in my performances for this week's one.
And obviously I'll be there, and I'm very excited to see it. At this moment, I'm excited to see it, but when this obviously goes live, I have no doubt it was a fabulous show. So I'm getting to the end. I'm getting to the end of my questions. I do have a few more. So what's your sort of dream for Glas? Where do you see Glas in 5-10 years? What's the big goal?
To be honest, there's not a massive goal for my drag career. It's something that I don't want to pursue it as a career. I enjoy performing, and I love being Glas, and I love the opportunities that I've got, and all the opportunities which I'm sure I've got coming in the future, which I'll gladly take on. But I just want to become a little, just get out there a bit more and just perform more. I'm not expecting anything big and like extravagant because that's not what I want to do. I have a career outside of drag, and that's what I ideally would like to pursue, with drag just being a hobby, which I can continue to enjoy. I feel like so long if I continue it and it put too much emphasis on it and it become more of a full-time thing, then for me personally, I feel like I'd fall out of love with it. So, I want to try and make sure that I'm getting enough to try and push myself to continue doing that idea of performance and the stuff that I enjoy. But I'm not expecting math from it. But I'll take any sort of the opportunities that I get and have.
So where can people stay up to date with you? Where can people find out where you end up next?
So I'm on. I'm not a massive social media person, to be honest with you. But I do have Instagram, which is glas.queen. It's Glas with one S because it's Welsh. And most of my stuff on there. You'll see, do a little plug for Hell Haus as well, because that's something I have involved in, which is Hell Haus 13 on Instagram, and you can see all of the upcoming events. They'll always go live around about after the time that the previous show will go. Show's finished, and you'll see bits and bobs going up on there as well. I think people need to jump on that and make sure you get your tickets for the shows when they go up.
And I have heard some rumors there's some incredible shows planned in the next coming sort of cycle, and some amazing performers that might make an appearance. So absolutely drop a follow. I'll put that in the link below as well, the description below, so people can scroll down, click away. So my final question for you is, what advice do you have for young people looking to get into the performing sort of industry?
Sorry, I've just gotten a notification on my phone. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Sorry, it was telling me my phone's only on 10% charge. For young people getting into the performance industry, just try it. Just give it a go. I mean, for those that there'll be people that really, really want to perform, and they will have some sort of a drive to do it, and they just need to go out there and try. They need to talk to people. They need to get involved and be seen. I think, especially in Cardiff, even though it's a small city, the scene is quite big and it's growing, and there is a lot of people trying to break out in it, and it's very difficult. I'm not a person that I would describe as being, massively broken out into the scene at all. I still think that very, very few people actually know who I am, and I'm still working at trying to get out there. It is a slog. It's a grind. I think you just need to have a bit of perseverance and resilience to do it. It's not just going to be to you, and you need to actually work for it. But if you've got the drive, the determination, the talent to actually go do it, then just try it. What's the worst?
So I'll end the same way I started, just by saying thank you so much for taking the time out to sit down and chat with me. I'll put the links that we've talked about in the description so people can scroll down and click away. But yes, thank you so much, and I shall speak to you soon.
Yeah, speak to you soon.